York City schools officials embarking on a new partnership now to support students with disabilities. They're also taking steps to protect migrants as well as LGBTQ students.
Meanwhile, frustrated parents forced to enroll their children in a new school after their daycare center abruptly shut down. Schools Chancellor Melissa Aviles Ramos is joining us this morning to chat about these issues and much more. So good morning to you, Chancellor. Thanks for taking the time
to be with us. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we've been covering these looming daycare closures for a while now, some of them given a reprieve, but there's one in particular, the John Cocker Learning Center in Bushwick, closed for good on Friday, but they were only given a week's notice. Why was that?
So we work with our independently owned programs, and they actually consolidated classes, and they made that decision on their own, and you know that's their decision. But we work with all our providers and make sure that we're as supportive as we can be, and make sure that we inform our families.
That's that one snapshot, right? There were 3 other early childhood centers in Brooklyn that we paid close attention to. There was a back and forth of whether or not the enrollment numbers were there. We spoke to the owners of Los Niños in particular that said there was a bit of a clerical error, that it looked like there was only 4 students, but they were actually fully enrolled. Then you guys came out and said, okay, we're going to keep them open until the end of the year. What does that look like after that, right? Since the enrollment is there, why can't it just stay open?
We are actually working with all the stakeholders involved with those childhood centers. So from the landlords to the providers to our local elected officials, those conversations are still going. The details haven't been finalized, but we're super excited that we were able to, reach some sort of an agreement with them and listen to the stakeholders.
What was the issue? Why was there a clerical issue where it was showing less enrollment?
The leases are expiring. So
right, but that wasn't the exact reason for
There are a number of criteria that we looked at. One of them is under enrollment, and so there was a discrepancy due to a clerical error. But that being said, there's still a discussion around full enrollment.
Okay. We want to switch gears now. We wanted to talk to you about, in response to President Trump's executive order regarding gender, you sent out a letter to parents about LGBTQ rights, about students. So can you talk about that and how you are making sure that these students are protected?
So we are excited to continue with our policies. They remain firm, they are in place, they have not changed. New York City Public Schools is very, very diverse, and our diversity is something that we celebrate, and we are making sure that every single student, regardless of background, gender, religion, ethnicity, that they are welcome into our school system. That's not changing.
And on this topic of the Trump administration, there has been a lot of talk about migrant students and ICE coming into schools, right? And there was this back and forth about were they allowed in schools, were they not allowed in schools, enrollment numbers dropped for a little bit. The mayor said that you couldn't look at a specific week. What is the situation with ICE? Because your message may have differed a little bit from the mayor's at one point. So what are you telling parents?
No, the mayor and I are clear. Non-local law enforcement cannot enter schools. If non-local law enforcement enters a building and they have a judicial warrant, or any kind of a warrant, we contact our field counsel. We contact them to make sure that all the documentation is appropriate. But without a judicial warrant, they cannot enter the building.
Well, what is the attendance like? Has it gone back to normal?
We always see ebbs and flows with our attendance. Chronic absenteeism is a national issue. That is not something that's new to New York City. We're working really closely with our superintendents and our principals to make sure that we're addressing any issues. And most importantly, communicating that our schools are safe spaces. Please send your children to school. Schools are the safest places to be, and making sure that our families know that.
Have you heard from parents of migrant students in particular who worry that there is a trickle-down effect, right? That from the home to streets to a school building, that there are some real concerns there?
We have been working with our families, with our advocates, and everyone is just making sure that our families and our children receive the right messaging around what our policies are, and that non-local law enforcement cannot just enter buildings just whenever they want.
Thus far, from these new raids that we've been seeing, has there been a situation where there has been an ICE agent who has approached a school in any of the boroughs and either turned away or has entered?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Okay. We also wanted to ask you about this new initiative promoting awareness for disabled students. You're announcing that?
Yes, super excited. Real abilities. So our Special Education Advisory Council, they gave us feedback last year, and they said, hey, we need more inclusive environments and more education for our students with disabilities and deaf culture. And so actually a New York City Public Schools graduate who had an IEP when he was in New York City Public Schools is now leading the charge for in our Division for Inclusive and Accessible Learning. And this partnership with Real Abilities is allowing us to provide free resources, free films, lesson plans, discussion guides around students with disabilities and deaf culture. So it's just another step in the right direction for creating these inclusive and welcoming environments.
Good stuff. That's really needed.
Yeah.
And just on the health front, just one quick question for you, because we're seeing this kind of outbreak of measles around the country, and people are being asked to, I guess, get their vaccination rates up in certain areas, right? Has there been a concern or conversation within the DOE looking at what's happening around the country?
We're always working really closely with our partners at DOHMH and making sure that our students are vaccinated and that we are communicating our policies to families.
Okay. Chancellor Avila, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks. It's great being here with you.